The world did not end when Elena's marriage shattered. It simply lost its color. She felt less like a person, and more like a hollowed-out architectural plan for a building that was never finished. Her identity had been so inextricably woven into Elena and Thomas that when the Thomas part was ripped away, the Elena part began to unravel like a cheap sweater. She retreated to the Gray Lands, a coastal town famous for its perpetual mist and a radical therapeutic retreat known as the Obsidian Mirror. The retreat was not a place of soft pillows and herbal tea. It was a high-tech psychological fortress. To rediscover yourself, you had to enter the Hall of Erasure. The twist? The facility used neural mapping fog to project your heartbreak into physical space. You didn't just think about your ex. You had to walk through a house built entirely from your most painful memories. On her third night, Elena met Julian in the communal garden. Julian was a man who moved with the cautious grace of someone who had survived a shipwreck. "Don't let the fog trick you," Julian whispered, his eyes scanning the mist. "It doesn't just show you the person you lost. It shows you the version of yourself you sacrificed to keep them." Elena's session began at midnight. The hall transformed into the living room of her old house. There stood Thomas, or rather, the shadow of Thomas. He was a towering figure of criticism and quiet emptiness. But as Elena tried to fight the shadow, she noticed something horrifying. She didn't have hands. She didn't have a face. In the reflection of the hall's mirrors, she was nothing but a pale, translucent mist. She had become so small to fit into Thomas's world that she had literally vanished. "You didn't lose him," the shadow hissed, its voice a distorted version of her own. "You lost the girl who used to paint. You lost the woman who used to climb mountains. You traded your bones for his approval." The room began to shrink, the walls closing in like the jaws of a trap. Just as the walls were about to crush her, Julian appeared in the doorway. But he wasn't there to save her in the traditional sense. He was holding a palette of vibrant, chaotic paints, Elena's old tools. "I can't fight him for you, Elena," Julian shouted over the roar of the collapsing room. "But I can remind you that you are the architect of this nightmare. Change the design." Elena realized the redistribution of power had to come from within. She didn't attack the shadow of Thomas. Instead, she turned her back on him. She grabbed the brushes and began to paint directly onto the fog. She painted the sunrise she had missed for 5 years. She painted the jagged peaks of the Alps. She painted a woman with shoulders made of granite and eyes made of stars. The twist revealed itself. The shadow didn't die. It shriveled. Without her attention, the ghost of her heartbreak had no fuel. As she painted herself back into existence, her body became solid again. Her hands reappeared, stained with indigo and gold. Elena and Julian didn't fall in love that night. They did something much more adaptive. They became each other's witnesses. They spent the next month at the coast, but they didn't share a room. They shared sunsets. Julian began to write again. Elena opened a studio that smelled of turpentine and salt air. So that when you finally meet someone, you meet them as a complete world. 6 months later, they sat on a bench overlooking the ocean. The fog was gone. "I used to think I was a fragment," Elena said, her voice clear and resonant. "And now?" Julian asked, taking her hand not to hold her up, but to walk beside her. Now she smiled. "I'm the whole damn mosaic." They were no longer two broken pieces trying to fit together. They were two masterpieces who happened to be hanging in the same gallery. They found a love that wasn't a residence of safety, but a launch pad for their individual lives. If you liked this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Bye. See you next time.